Hi everyone! Today we're going to be talking about just kind of two situations that I've grouped together because I just feel like they're going to give sort of a similar vibe in how I tailor the conversation. First, I want to discuss Colleen Ballinger on the Tea Time with Raven and Amanda podcast, along with Ned Fulmer, who published a video on his own YouTube channel called Addressing the Backlash. We're just going to have a short chat about these today because I feel like there is a lot more of the conversation that can be had by people that are more directly affected by this, but I still kind of want to throw my opinion hat into the ring, so I'm going to do so anyway. And yeah, before we get to that, links, source, ways to support the channel, all that kind of stuff, all down below, including YouTube members and patrons. Thank you so much to my wonderful YouTube members and patrons. Names on the screen. So the video will just be split in half today, like it's in two parts. Part 1, Colleen and Tea Time, and Part 2, Ned Fulmer responding to the Backlash. Lip combo for the girls. Gerard Cosmetics lip liner in Sugar and Spice. I was sent this, so I have it. Sorry about that. Dupe shade, don't know. It's like kind of pink brown. That's all. And the Quo Beauty lip peptide lip tint in Vanilla Mint. Also, if any of you are looking and you live in Canada and you're looking at the Michaela Nogueira POV like bomb thing, I swear on everything it's just this. Like every description of the formula, everything except the pigment on this one doesn't separate. Like I'm not getting the patchiness. So you want to do, this is like $12 Canadian. So can't get it in America though. It's like the one time ever that exists that there's a product you can't get in America, you can get in Canada. Anyway, let's get right into it. Part 1, Colleen with Tea Time. For the format of this video, by the way, I'm going to do like a sort of scripted, unscripted, kind of in that I'm gathering my notes at the same time as I watch the podcast, and I'll add in whatever I think of as I'm kind of speaking, but I do have notes on everything that happened. So before we really get into specifically what happened with Colleen, I want to do like a bit of a refresher because I haven't really talked about her much in the last like 2 years. So TLDR on Colleen Ballinger. In 2020, then 17 years old, commentary channel Adam McIntyre makes a video called Colleen Ballinger Stop Lying. He outlines the very inappropriate, to say generously, relationship between himself and Colleen Ballinger, along with how inappropriate the fan base was towards him. This video did not go well for Adam because of the way that Colleen was able to spin it, along with seemingly malicious interpretations via mainstream media and internet audiences. And this has all been spun in the way that it was, despite the fact that Colleen literally sent Adam McIntyre a lingerie set as a minor. Right. So this whole situation ends up laying dormant because Adam doesn't want to talk about it anymore, really, because of how it hashed out for him. So then in 2023, another commentary channel called Cody Rants, or Cody Tyler, came with receipts on Colleen that confirmed essentially that everything that Adam said was true, which was also kind of a weird twist and crazy perception with the audience because obviously this also led Adam to kind of be able to tell the story in its totality because the way that he was telling it before was kind of just directed towards the Colleen Ballinger fan base that was very familiar with him and that he was distancing himself from the whole thing. Apparently, which I watched Adam's video on Colleen, like not the one where he reacts to the podcast, the one right before that. I think, why did I not put the title of it? I just wrote, I watched Adam's video. Okay, Diva. Oh yes, it's literally just called Colleen Ballinger. That's why. Wow. Anywho, then there were many other stories that started stemming from this. There was a story about Colleen's brother and his inappropriate relationships with Colleen's fans, particularly one named Oliver. Then there were the other there's like a bunch of side stories came off of this, like Johnny Silvestri and Cody Tyler kind of wanting to come back because of like getting a new laptop or something, and then a whole meltdown stream. There was like the H3 episode was a big drama and how they communicate to each other. Adam wasn't there. There was also the Swoop controversy because all of a sudden she didn't cover the Oliver stuff, which I sort of hope she doesn't bother with it now unless Oliver really wants to, with the resurgence of Colleen, because I just feel like that would be, that's all I'm going to say about that. But like if she doesn't, then we're chilling. Obviously everything's fine. But I'm just like, I just have like, sometimes you get like a weird like feeling in the back of your mind, you know? I tweeted on my alt Twitter where I'm like, was that gonna happen, you think? Like, but that's just me being conspiratorial, okay? This is no dig on her. I just hope, what I'm saying is that when I remembered the Oliver and Colleen's brother thing, that I just hope it doesn't get like brought back up in a way that could harm him in his mental health, and not Colleen's brother. I'm talking about Oliver specifically, obviously. Then obviously this all kind of come to a climax with the toxic gossip train apology video with, well, it wasn't an apology video, which Colleen talks about this, but the ukulele thing. Then Colleen was gone from YouTube for a really long time. Very anticlimactic return to only vlogging on YouTube later. This was until essentially this podcast interview. Colleen kind of giving mommy vlogger core, just kind of try to keep it pushing, declining views, not much going on. No books, no tours. Everything kind of fell through in that regard. So was the case until the podcast interview. So let's get into this now, okay? So video starts with Raven, Simone, and Miranda is Raven's wife, going over the purpose of the interview and talks about how they felt it has been long enough to see the human side, which the way that they present this at the beginning is extremely sterile and very strange, especially from a trained actor. I don't know who Miranda is, like the wife or whatever. I obviously, like, I watched that. I had the That's So Raven karaoke CD. Thank you very much. Here's my tea on this. First off, it being in a podcast called It's Tea Time, crazy because it's the same thing as when I've talked about a lot of other things, a lot of other serious things, when allegations and things like that, when they're angled as like tea, and also like you want to come back on what is positioned as a drama podcast, right? Because that's what tea is supposed to be. It's like gossip, right? So that's already strange in itself. But anyway, the way that it was so sterile, and I feel like they were really trying to be taken seriously, makes me wonder if maybe what had happened was they knew they were wrong. Well, okay, I don't even think that's really a maybe. I think they were wrong before they started. And that like resulted in the very kind of confrontational audience interaction that resulted after that.
Today, we're sitting down with Colleen Ballinger, actress, comedian, and YouTuber best known for her character Miranda Sings.
If you were anywhere online in 2023, you probably saw Colleen's name trending. It's because she was accused of crossing personal boundaries with fans, some of whom were minors, and the response was intense.
She posted a response video that made the whole situation blow up even more. And what followed was one of the biggest public cancellations we've seen in a while.
This is actually the first time that we're meeting Colleen, and we've decided to do it now because we feel like enough time has passed for reflection and learning and for a real conversation behind the headlines.
It's easy to form opinions based on what we see online, but harder to sit down face to face and ask questions about what's really happened, what someone's taken from it, and how they're moving forward.
Our goal isn't to revisit every detail, but to understand the human side of the story that became very public.
So today, Colleen is here to share her perspective in her own words, to share what she's learned, what she regrets, and what she hopes all of us take away from it now.
And we're here to listen.
Here's our conversation with Colleen Bell.
The conversation on the podcast starts sort of light. I assume this is just so like Raven can position it a certain way or what have you. And starts with joking about why Colleen picked the name Miranda because one of the hosts is named Miranda. And then they're also talking about like where they feel like they were mentally and whatever. And Colleen says that she feels like she's still mentally in her 20s. It's interesting because if you're having allegations of being inappropriate to kids, you should not be like, I'm a kid at heart. Like, not even if you feel that way, low key, you know what I mean? This is like a we don't say anything type deal, you know? Talked about how online and personal life, she did not really separate that. This was kind of like an issue that kind of grew into where she became too involved with everything. And she also was talking about how her audience at the beginning, when she was just getting out of college or whatever, was much older, and then that as the audience became younger as she uploaded on YouTube, that she thought that she was adjusting her jokes accordingly, which she clearly did not. She said that she always felt pressure to reply to people and fans, but never considered her own well-being, even though the issue was that she was sacrificing the well-being of children. Oh yeah, and then she also kept talking about how she kept focusing on the things that weren't true, rather than like the things that people were saying about her that were true, which when she gets into around 23 minutes, starts talking about the toxic gossip train thing, like the ukulele video, and how that wasn't an apology. And there's still so many I'll clip it right now.
It's really embarrassing. I wish that I could handle it a lot differently than I did.
When you say that, are you talking about like the apology
Talking
videos?
about a musical instrument that I should have not picked up. Yes, I mean, I should have listened to what people were saying, and I should have...
I think people want an apology. I think people want for you to acknowledge the things that happened on stage. I hope that you give that to them.
I agree with you. I think that they do want an apology, and I am sorry. And here's the thing, is when you mess up and when you make a mistake and do something wrong, sometimes you got to keep apologizing for it. And that's what I should have done. Like, and people keep saying it's an apology song. I didn't apologize in that thing.
You did not.
I did not.
You know what?
There
You are
was
correct.
no
You did not
sorry
apologize.
in that.
You did not. I was actually laughing. So you know, that was some crazy penmanship.
We also, in watching it, I remember one of the things that we talked about was it felt like you were angry.
Yeah,
and,
I was.
and burnt out and just
Fed up.
Yeah, fed up.
I was.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that I was angry. And that's why I keep saying I wish that I had just paused for a second and listened to my fans, to my supporters.
And process.
Because
stuff.
while there were things being said about me that weren't true, my people who would support me for so many years that I'm up here saying, like, I just wanted them to be happy. I wanted to make them happy. Well, they wanted an explanation. They wanted to understand what's going on. And they deserved that. And I didn't give it to them. Instead, I was angry and sang a song, and which is crazy.
But I don't know if y'all notice, like, there's still so much more conversation around grooming and child harm allegations to what she says, like, her actions are. And I didn't phrase that very well. What I mean by that is Colleen is saying essentially that the intention of her harming children or whatever, as like this kind of malicious, like, for lack of a better term, like sexual way, was like the not true of it all, right? But then her being too stupid to understand what's inappropriate is sort of the responsibility that she takes. But she seems to constantly be talking about the things that she deems untrue as the focus of the conversation. And I say this because she talks about how she didn't even comprehend that the yoga challenge, which a clip that one of the victims talked about that were on the H3 podcast and everything like that. I just don't want to bring them up just because I don't think they want to be, but talked about how, Colleen said that she kept talking about how she felt about these things around 31 minutes, says that it was crass humor for older audiences to understand. But then the yoga joke was just innocent, which doesn't make sense. So what Colleen was saying was, the goal of my humor was to make jokes that the kids will laugh at and include essentially innuendos that will also make the parents laugh, which is something that's commonly, done in, I remember it was done a lot, especially in the early 2000s, like in like SpongeBob episodes or things like that, right? But then what Colleen's alluding to is that essentially that she felt that she was competent enough to also kind of make those types of writing plots and everything like that, and they were just kind of falling flat, and that's like the big issue. Ignoring the fact that you're putting these children in embarrassing positions in front of these audiences, let alone the nature of the actual action itself.
I was like, okay, how do I keep this audience that liked this crass humor and now appealed to this younger audience that now is growing so much? And my solution to that was I will still do these more crass innuendo type jokes, and it'll go over the kids' heads, and then the parents will have something to laugh at, and the adults will have something to laugh at that are in the audience. And that was my solution to that.
That was you rectifying what was going on stage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought, well, everyone knows that I'm a safe person, and I don't mean anything negative by this. I was like, well, everyone knows this is in jest, and so it's fine for me to do this because the crass jokes will go over the kids' heads, and the adults will laugh at it, and that is how it seemed to me. I didn't think more about how that could be affecting the younger people in the audience.
Raven asks about a clip where a boy eats Cheetos out of your pants. Then Miranda swoops in to try to correct by saying he wasn't physically eating them out of her pants, he was taking them out and eating them. And then Raven goes, see how things get twisted, to kind of like support Colleen's idea that this is something that keeps happening. Now, first off, I don't know if anybody's eating cheese balls, let's say, mouth in the bag.
No worries. If you could explain why there is a clip of YouTube of a little boy eating Cheetos out of your pants. Could you explain that for the audience, please?
Holding Cheetos, that makes it sound more egregious. Like he's physically eating out of her pants. He wasn't. He was taking one.
Oh, he was taking see? That's how things get twisted.
Right.
So could you explain it, please?
Well, I mean, what a crazy thing to hear that there's a woman on stage and there's a young person taking food out of her pants and eating it on stage. Like, that's crazy. A lot of the joke with Miranda was that I would say and do things that were inappropriate or had some sort of sexual innuendo to them or something like that. And it went over the character's head. Like, Miranda was not aware that she was saying something that could be taken the wrong way. That was a lot of the jokes that I did as the character.
You know what I mean? Semantics, I fear, is what's happening here, right? It's like, okay, sure, but that's not really relevant at this given time, because it's like your actual issue stems from that you had a kid anywhere near your pants to begin with. And the interesting thing is with Raven saying, see how things get twisted, right? The focus is that, oh, well, these things that were being said about her weren't true. Right? There's so much of it. There's so much focus on untruth, for lack of a better term, or over exaggeration, or anything in this episode. The only thing that Colleen's sort of like, yeah, I screwed that up big time, like very directly, like no ifs, ands, or buts about it, was the stupid toxic gossip train ukulele video. But girl, when you've got Moist Critical reporting on you on that, you've got like every big platform like there was no way out of it. But it really feels like anything you felt like you could have gotten a way out of it, you were trying to do on this episode. Around 40 minutes, Colleen explains the mailing lingerie kind of thing, which happened with Adam. So what happened with that was Colleen did a live stream where she was opening like a clothing order that she had received or whatever. She had one of her friends there. Sometimes when you order things online or whatever, somebody throws something in the package that wasn't supposed to be there. Colleen essentially got a lingerie set that she didn't order. And then people were like, oh my God, well, if you're not going to wear it, like you're not going to use it, whatever, like send it to one of us. Like you've sent, you know, old Miranda shirts or little knickknacks or whatever, which I feel like she shouldn't have even been sending out personal items anyway, but that's like besides the point. And then what happens is she essentially says her audience egged her on, and Adam asked so many times that she ended up mailing it to him. Anyway.
Is how I feel about it now. I think it was like 10 years ago, something like that. I was doing a live stream, and I always loved giving away gifts to my fans online. So I would send them like a bobby pin of Miranda's or a lipstick of Miranda, an old shirt, you know. Usually it was to encourage them to donate to a charity event that I would do every year. But I loved giving out stuff. And so I was doing a live stream like I did pretty often, and I was opening up a box of clothes that I had bought, and in it was this underwear bra set that I didn't order, and it was we were all laughing about it. So everyone in the chat was laughing about it, me and my friend, and he actually put it on over his clothes and was like, look at this. And we were laughing about it. And there were people in the comments saying, oh, send that to me. Send that one to me. And we were like, we're not going to do that. That's crazy. But then there's one fan in particular who kept asking us to send it. And I was like, obviously you can tell in the live, like I'm like hesitant about it because there is a little bit of brains in there somewhere that was like, maybe not. Because I hesitated, but then I was like, and I didn't send it. I didn't. But then it was just became an inside joke with the fandom, and everyone was like telling me to send it, and he kept asking for it. It was like months of this, and so finally I did, and it was very public and as a joke, and it was like a part of my brain was missing in action of like, hey, this is not a good idea. This looks bad. It wasn't a pair of my something that I sent to a young fan in an inappropriate way, but it was inappropriate. Like, why would what part of me felt like everyone will know this is a silly joke in the fandom? Like I wish I'd never done that. That was so inappropriate. And if he was made to feel uncomfortable because of that, like I feel terrible and I'm so sorry because that was not my intention with that. I thought it was like a silly inside joke with the whole fandom. It was all very public and I thought it was a silly thing and it was so stupid.
How are you trying to quote unquote take responsibility in this podcast on one hand, and then on the other hand, you're actually trying to say like children egged me on into doing this bad thing that started all of this? Actually, it was the children pressured me. The children peer pressured me. And I couldn't use any of my adult brain cells around any of this. Knew the DM groups were full of children, like talking like the weenies group chats and stuff like on Instagram and stuff like that. Even when asking very ridiculous, intrusive or sexual questions, which she said she was doing for the laughs. It's one thing to get the group chat leaked. There's like deniability maybe in some instances. Whatever. When the group chat leak is you in your 30s and a bunch of teenagers and children, I feel like we go, man, the fact that I was even in that vicinity was ridiculously inappropriate, and I have no way of even explaining this one out, really. Let alone being like, I was just trying to do it for the laughs. And then Miranda kind of popping in and being like, yeah, you were like chewing over your head. Whoa. Continues on to talk about being friends with Jojo Siwa at 11. Saying that there was nothing inappropriate, that Jojo Siwa's mom would have never let anything inappropriate happen. Called Jojo Siwa her sister now, though, which, again, is weird, because why were you you said like this professional relationship essentially led into her being like a sister to you. Well, there was 7 years in that relationship where she was still a minor. So you're talking about how wonderful your relationship is with this person and how valuable this person is to you when you befriended another child. Like, what's gagging me down is like how you're not even understanding like the way that you're positioning your outside context. And so much of the conversation was Colleen saying like, I don't understand anything, I'm stupid as fuck, which is chill because like probably, but how would you at the same time, then why would you talk to somebody like that? Like, why would you not come back maybe with something where it's been reviewed? Criticism online, how she needed to be able to step away from it or whatever. And she's like, yeah, well, I've always been my biggest hater, so none of these people have anything on me. Okay, inspirational diva, like, what the hell? Anywho. And then it boils this all down to her needing validation from the fan base, which cycled her into being, inappropriate. Again, we're not taking responsibility for anything. And also, the main thesis I could not help but take away from this entire interview is Colleen going, I did bad things because I got peer pressured from children. If any of you actually watched it all the way through, or I suggest if you want to watch it all the way through without giving, well, okay, I don't want to say any Ethan Klein lines here and get a diva sued, but Adam watches the whole thing in Minecraft, I guess. And you can see how it's like about him, so I assume anyway, I'm just worried about copyright law all of a sudden. Everything's scary, but anyway, she being Colleen in this case, essentially says like, these actions came out of me as a result of being, I was gonna say groomed by her fan base, but that's, their children doesn't go that way. By being pressured by her fan base. I asked children over intrusive questions, did inappropriate physical bits with them on stage, had inappropriate group chats with them, sent personal items and lingerie to them because they made me feel like I had to. Right. Well, that ends that part. Let's end up with part 2, Ned Fulmer's addressing the backlash. So we're going to talk TLDR with this. I covered recently, I think 3 or 4 videos ago, Ned Fulmer's return podcast on the Rock Bottom podcast, where he did an interview with his ex-wife, Ariel. Now, what happened with this, super TLDR, in 2022, the Try Guys were comprised of Keith, Zach, Eugene, and Ned. 4 guys that were, try things, right? Oh, it's so funny. Like, they would, try different things, whatever. They were part of BuzzFeed, and they moved on their own. Ned ends up cheating on his wife a lot, and sometimes publicly, with one of the employees of the Try Guys. The employee leaves, Ned also leaves, and then you don't really hear much about Ned and Ariel after that. Couple weeks, like a month or 2 ago, Ned does a podcast called the Rock Bottom Podcast. His first episode is an interview with his ex-wife Ariel, talking about essentially the collapse of their marriage. Now, that video got a ton of backlash, like dislikes, insanely horrible. But then when you look at the actual Rock Bottom numbers, holy moly, the episodes are barely cracking 10K. There's one from 2 weeks ago that is 3.8 thousand views. So you've got the conversation with Ariel Fulmer that has 1.2 million views, but then the next episode has 52,000, then we get 21, 16, 11, 6.8, 3.8, and 5.4K from 11 days ago. So I presume because the YouTube channel is tanking crazy, Ned goes on his own channel, which has way more subscribers because the Rock Bottom channel only has 62,000. He goes on his personal Ned Fulmer channel and makes a video called Addressing the Backlash. So in the video addressing the backlash, and he uploaded I Tried Professional Wrestling that only has 666, that's crazy, 666 views 6 hours ago. That is insanely bad even for like my channel. 6 hours, I usually have at least 4K. I'll do 4,000 and 10,000, somewhere around there. That is nuts. Because on his personal channel, he's also been uploading, well, he's only uploaded, how many? 6 videos. So one of them was a 1-minute clip called What Have I Been Doing, which was just seemed to have been a preview. And then we've got Blind Dating 5 Guys plus Secret AI. I feel like you should not be doing anything dating involved because you're big scandals cheating on your wife. Can I Survive Jet G-Force? 1 million views 4 weeks ago. Surprising. Addressing the Backlash is from 9 days ago with 68,000 views. And then he has 2 videos that are kind of tanking. Which country is the best noodles? 18K. And then now it says 670 views on the wrestling video. So now we get to the actual video. I just summarized it. It's quite short. It's 9 minutes. But jumps in right away saying that Ned is aware that the commentary and reactions regarding his podcast with his ex-wife Ariel. Says that the conversation was actually Ariel's idea because she's a stakeholder in the Rock Bottom channel and wanted to be successful.
As has been reported in interviews, launching the podcast with a conversation with Ariel was Ariel's idea. She's a stakeholder in the Rock Bottom podcast and this new channel, and she wants it to be successful. So that was part of the reason why, in terms of having that conversation, we did it together rather than on any other platform. We knew it would draw a lot of attention, and I know that some of you have only seen 15-second clips of me putting my foot in my mouth, but I hope for those that watch the full hour that you took something away from it.
Girl, all due respect, Ariel, diva, queen, girl, boss. Why did we put any will into this guy when the backlash that happened online was as immense as it was? I'm genuinely curious. Maybe put the stakes somewhere else if you're not cracking 10K on a production value show, because that's going to cost more money than it makes. 10K views is like a couple $100s. Ned talked about kind of going to intensive therapy after everything was found out, that he made a letter talking about what he had done, and then he gave it to Ariel and everything. Describes the therapy process, and that Ariel wrote an impact letter on like how it impacted her life and changed her life. And in that process, about 2 years in, so I guess it would have been last year, they decided that they were going to get a divorce anyway, that it was irreconcilable differences and like the adultery of it all and everything like that. Similar kind of thing to Colleen, where there's like a specific point of conversation that gets the most interaction, for lack of a better term, is that he keeps talking about how everyone made up their minds via a 15-second TikTok clip about society, and that we're ignoring the surrounding context, and that is why we feel the way that we feel about it. He just kept saying the 15-second TikTok clip, 15-second TikTok clip. Somebody made a TikTok, or it was the one that he put out to preview it perhaps, that's like pissed him off. I don't really know what that's about.
I understand that if you, a viewer, is watching this for the first time or just sees this 15-second clip on TikTok, you don't understand everything that has led us to this point. And I know that it'll take time. And if you want to just judge me off of one clip of me talking about society, which obviously was not the best response to that situation, you are welcome to do that. I know that people have a choice when it comes to what they watch and what they consume. And if people don't want to continue engaging with me on the internet, then that's a consequence of my actions and something that I have accepted.
But what's so strange is that if you're a YouTuber, first, we're not TikTok diva out here, okay? Thank you. If you're a YouTuber, would you not have been flooded by the commentary videos that go through the entire episode? That's what most of the format is. YouTube loves long videos. And then he just says that, he essentially goes, you know what? You don't want to watch me. It's a consequence of my own actions, which, I mean, it sure is, girl. And that's how it ends. And that's where I'm going to end my video short for once. Crazy. Thank you so much for watching. Links to our Way Sports channel, all the kind of stuff, all down below. Thank you again to my wonderful YouTube members and patrons. I adore you dearly. I hope all of you have an amazing day wherever you are. And choose peace today. Read a book or something. Anyway, hope you have an amazing day. I'll see you around. Bye.
I had my hair pink and I did it because I was like, this is going to be Rihanna courtside. This is going to be Kate Moss. Tumblr 2015. That was the vibe I'm going for. But unfortunately, I think I ended up looking like Jeffree Star, like with my tattoos and everything. Just wait.